Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Bean Counter Podcast. It's my first full week back in Miami. I was on vacation for a couple of weeks with my now wife in Utah. We had a nice ceremony up there. If you guys have not seen the pictures, check it out. I think I shared them on the Facebook page. Absolutely gorgeous. We had a tremendous time. We had about 13 of our closest friends out there for the ceremony. It was a ton of fun. So today I wanted to talk about, I got a question about when to quit your job and sort of what sort of leads up to that. Now, I've talked a little bit about this before, but I wanted to clarify a couple things. And, before I get started, I want to say that, I worked in public accounting for a couple years. I worked at PwC. I got early promoted. I got high ratings each year that I was there. I did very well. And I just want to start off by saying that it was a thrill to be involved there. I read an article the other day. I just started writing for Going Concern, and I've been even reading more of their content, sort of understanding how the other writers do it. And it was a real shame. I read one of the other writers there the other day said, that, well, this person was choosing between two offers, right? One accounting firm and another accounting firm. How do they choose? And he was sort of giving her some pointers. And at the end he said, but hurry up and make this decision because work is terrible or miserable or something like that. And college is a bunch of fun and blah, blah, blah. And, I sort of think that's a real tragedy. I am, not to diss my fellow Going Concern writers too much, but I sort of think that that's a bunch of baloney. I don't think that work is boring. I don't think that my time in public accounting was boring. I'd say it was a total thrill. I mean, I had a goal. I was aiming at it. I was doing everything I could to achieve that, like get to that peak. Everything I was doing was related to that. It was a very exciting time. Got a bunch of bonuses, met a lot of people, had a lot of cool experiences, worked on huge clients, Fortune 100 companies, worked a lot of crazy hours, learned a lot of crazy stuff, worked on a bunch of cool transactions. I mean, it was cool. It was cool. And public accounting is a great job. And this person was specifically asking me is about, when do you leave? They are in sort of an experienced associate position, don't really know if they're ready to be a senior, want to be a senior, trying to sort of figure all that out. Now, so one of the things I wanted to start off with and thinking about when you should quit, and I can just speak about my own experience, my own thought process, and how all that went, and see if I can share that. Not because what I do is the best thing, but just to help, share my experience, and hopefully that can help you work through it. I would say not to quit your job if you are angry. I wouldn't quit your job if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're working with a bad team member, or if you're working on a bad client. If there's something that's sort of short-term in nature that's fixable, I wouldn't quit because of that. I would do everything I can to fix that. I mean, I remember when I first started working at PwC, it was just a couple months in, I was working there, and I was working on this client that I really did not like. It was in an industry that I wasn't interested in at the time, and the team was sort of very strange. I mean, I'm an early guy, right? I like to get up. My ideal situation is get up in the office at 7, out early, enjoy the rest of my life, right? I like to work hard, but I don't like to forego my own life. They were the kind that were sort of like, nah, let's just like roll in at 10 and leave at like 11:30, and that just did not work for me at all. And play games all day. I just wasn't into that. I wanted to get in, work hard, and get out. And so it didn't really mesh with me. And I mean, I felt like, if I had to do this for 2 years, I would not stay at the company. And I felt that way. And I didn't go in threatening that. It's like, if I don't get moved off of this, I won't move. But I didn't let that let me quit. I used that as, okay, I need to make a change. And if you're in a situation like that, I would say don't quit, try and make a change. Now, if you're in a situation where you're not sure if you're ready to take it to that next level, you really don't have to take it to that next level first off. And I would just sort of take a second to waft in that. You don't have to go and get promoted. If you want to sit back another year, you can. I would not recommend that. I would say, why is it that you don't want to take it to that next level? A couple of reasons right off the bat I can think is you don't like the work sort of life balance that the people above you have. I think that's all BS. I think a lot of people lie about their situation. I think that a lot of people say that they're working harder than they are, that things are more difficult than they are. So don't take people's word for what they're doing. Also, just because they are killing themselves, think about it. Would you really have to kill yourself too? Maybe, maybe not. Are you struggling because they're not teaching you well, because they weren't taught well, versus you can learn it and you can do it? Those are two very different things. So I wouldn't let some sort of illusion about what's actually going on affect your decision to quit. I would say you should quit when you are bored. When you're sort of not in the thrill anymore. Like this guy who posted on Going Concern, you should work in university or you should enjoy your time in university because working is, boring. or miserable or whatever he said. I can't remember the exact words. Well, no, I think the guy should just quit and do something else. But he's, not going to do that for whatever personal issues that he has, that he can't feel comfortable doing something else or some job that he likes. I mean, I'm not perfect at this stuff. I mean, it took me a while to leave after I wanted to leave. And that's what I wanted to get to, is a little bit more of my story. Once I started to feel bored, had interest in other things, I said, okay, I'm going to take some time. And for me, it just happened to have been, I think it was a 2.5 month time period. I said, okay, at the end of this 2.5 month time period, I'm going to reevaluate and say, what do I want to do? And at the end of that 2.5 month time period, I think it was like the next day, I ended up putting in my 2 weeks and quitting, because I just sort of knew by that point. But if you're bored, that's when I would start to think about leaving and moving on to the next step. If you have anxiety about taking the next step, if you're nervous about some of the people you're working with, if you're nervous about some of the clients you're working with, if you don't know if you're ready for this, I would not quit because of that. I think that's something else. I think that's something deeper. I think you might not have been taught in the best way, maybe not taught emotionally in the best way, rather than the actual, in addition to just the skills that you've been taught. So I would sort of hold off at that point. If you're bored, to me, it sort of means you don't really see yourself being excited about the next level, being excited about the next step. You could do it, but it just doesn't seem like you want to do it. Having anxiety about it, to me, means that there's still something that's unexplored. Being apathetic about it, not really caring about it, shows me that that person knows what they need to know. They know what they're going to get into, but they just don't really care to do it. And that is a situation where you want to quit. I mean, there's a quote. I did a podcast this week on House of Cards. It was like promotion part 2 of House of Cards, some thoughts I had based on the series related to accounting. And one of the quotes in the series is, one of the guys in the series, Francis Underwood, says to another woman in the series, Zoe, he says that for people like us, treading water is like drowning. I'm one of those people too. I do not like staying still. I do not like, staying in one place and still acting like I'm moving, even when it's going to take me a long time. And really, when you're treading water, I mean, you're not moving anywhere. You're just sort of barely staying afloat. That always sort of bothered me, and I knew that I would be treading water for a longer period of time, and I just didn't feel comfortable waiting it out for that next level. Didn't feel like there was that much more to learn that I wanted to learn, to do something else that I wanted to do, and so I decided that it was the right time for me. I hope that that's been helpful. If there's anything more specific to your question, please send me an email at andrew@thebeancounter.org, or anybody else out there. If you have a question you'd like me to answer, I would really appreciate the email. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is the new year, 2014. I hope that you're very excited for everything that you have going on this year. I know that I am. Thank you all so much again for supporting this show. For the last couple months of 2013, we have a big year this year, a lot of things going on. Already we're giving speeches, being sponsored by CPA Excel, Wiley CPA Excel. We are writing for Going Concern. We've got the videos, the podcast. We're releasing a course here pretty soon, which I'm very excited about, which you'll be able to hear more about in the next couple weeks. Thank you all so much for your support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It has been a lot of fun, and I will talk to you soon.